modernity, and you're talking about what's going on in Africa, and I see those still. Many Christians have associated modernity with Christianity, and they don't know what to offer, say Japan, because Japan is modern and they don't realize it's still one of the most unreached nations on the earth. And seeing the as you mentioned, the ransacking of the scriptures, going back and rediscovering the gospel and removing it from modernity as much as we possibly can. I guess that's my question. How do we do that? How do we remove modernity? Because it's so part of the air we breathe. It's a current that we all seem to be a part of and caught up in, almost like a tsunami that has just pushed us apart, and we're just carried along its waves. Is it through the proclamation and just holding on to the word of God? But I'm finding that even those who have subscribed to the word have used therapeutic understandings of it and have lost the power, because we have more Bible studies than we've ever had before. We have more resources than we ever had before, especially in the West. And yet we seem to have less spiritual power. Whereas those in other cultures have 5% of the world's pastors have training, and they don't have as many resources, but yet they still seem to have a greater power. Why is that? And why is that secularization? I know Philip Jenkins just wrote another book on fertility and faith, as he's talking about how secularism in more developed countries has caused the smaller families, whereas in the less developed countries, they have a greater idea of it. I mean, what is that? Is it we're trying to remove modernity and pull it back and by continuing on to the word? But how do we even help other people see what modernity is and what it's doing?
We can't remove modernity. We're in our bodies, and they bring temptations like sexual temptations. Yes, we're in our world. We can only live in the times the Lord has put us in. We're in the 21st century, not the 18th or the 1st.
Right.
So we're in modernity. We can never remove it. But to resist it, we've got to recognize it. And modernity, as I said, most evangelicals are pretty good with ideas. Not all of them, but they've got aware. We need apologetics to combat bad ideas. That, Benedict XVI, the tyranny of relativism, and so on. But modernity, no, the cars we drive, the way we watch television, the way the social media shapes us, these things, the clock. I've got a book on that. They're not good at that. Now, Israel was called to be an anti-Egypt, a counter-Babylon, and so are we. So we're not trying to remove modernity, but we've got to have pastors. Now, let me be clear, it's tough to be a pastor today. Almost an impossible task. You're to be a jack of all trades and the
master of none,
along with a collapsing. You remember, I don't know if you ever saw our little book, No God But God.
Yes, actually, Breaking with the Idols of Our Age that you did with John Seal. Yes, that was the first book that I ever encountered of yours, by the way.
Our friend David Wells.
I have that here, right there.
We gave his chapter the time. He wrote on the D-men and the way pastors were trying to mimic the PhD. And we gave it the title, The Demonization, which David at first went, oops. You can see pastors trying to, becoming super psychologists or great management experts and so on. You've got to have people who say, I can describe 20 features of the world of our day, modernity, which are inimical, hostile, opposed to the gospel.
Say that again.
We should be able to describe modernity, and in that be able to say these 20, let's say 12, 20, 30 features of modernity are absolutely opposed to the gospel.
That's your next book.
No, the Gravedigger File was really about that.
Which one?
The Gravedigger File.
Oh, yes.
Or my book, Impossible People, was really about that. I had a chapter on this specifically. I could start specifying. I often I was saying to the Korean brothers, is Jesus Lord? Of course. Authority is at the heart of the Bible, but not at the heart of the modern world. Why? Just take the notion of consumerism. Everything's choice, preference. Now, does it matter which cereal you choose? No. But the same choice preference comes into our relationships. Might always meet a woman more beautiful than, more handsome than, more fulfilling than, and you can see how that affects relationships. But now the Bible, the brother who wants to unhitch the New Testament from the Old, that's Marcion.
Yeah, it is.
Someone who doesn't like Leviticus loves the book of John. Or one man said to me, love, of course, but hell no, he said. In other words, we just take what we like, pick and choose, preference, the church of your choice, And some of the big churches, you want a jazz service? Do you want a classical music service? Do you want a, you name
Whatever, fill in the blank.
Yeah, but then you just take what you like and throw out the rest. No wonder the American church is as flabby.